Okay, the 10th most pressure in the NBA is Giannis. I don't think Giannis has a whole lot of pressure on him. The thing is, because he got a championship, I think he did. I think people thought he was going to be the next savior. I think people thought he'd be the next, I don't know, LeBron. Or really, like, the most notable, it would have been the new Hakeem, right? A guy who kind of comes in, gets a couple championships, really great defensive player, very tall, big muscular dude who can who just out athletes people. Hakeem is the comp, right? And I think people thought he was going to get a couple championships. I think people thought, and still could. Hey, still could. There's still pressure there. I think there's less now, though. I think he's been. You could tell me if I'm wrong. I think he's been eclipsed. I think he's been eclipsed by Embiid. Embiid for just having better regular season stats, even though it's close, you know, because Giannis is so good. But Jokic and Embiid have kind of come in and been a little bit better when you look at those advanced stats, which were the stats that people were looking at to begin with to say Giannis was so good. So someone's kind of come in and done what he does well. So Giannis got a championship, though. There's less pressure on him. I don't know what to say. There's less pressure because I don't think people believe he's going to be what they thought he was going to be. So, yeah, I don't, but there's still pressure. He's still number 10 on the list. There's going to be a lot of guys that you're going to see aren't on the list. I don't really think they have that much pressure on them, but Giannis is 10. He's kind of developing a little bit of a playoff injury history now. Last year with the sore butt, not playing well. I think he's not playing today, but I got a feeling he's going to play in game 2, maybe. I got a feeling he's going to play. I think they're going to play him. They're going to put him out there, but it's going to be the same as last year where people said, hey, but he's injured. He's hurt. They're using the Theragun on his ass before the game. That's just the way it's going to be. And he's sort of developing that reputation, so I think there's a little bit of pressure for him to say, hey, are you the best player in the world? Because right now, you're not. So I think there's some pressure that way. And AJ Griffin getting fired, he was definitely responsible in a lot of ways for that, right? The whole team was dancing when he got fired, even though Giannis, I'm sure, weighed in when it came to firing Mike Budenholzer, so the last 2 coaches, who they're still paying, by the way, those contracts are guaranteed for NBA coaches. So right now, the Bucks are paying 3 coaches. They're paying Doc, AJ Griffin, and Mike Budenholzer. This is what happens when you I'm not saying Giannis said, hey, fire these coaches, but they do. Chris Middleton, Giannis, all those guys, Brook Lopez, they talk to them about who's going to get fired, who should stay, and who should leave. Same thing with Drew. Like, Giannis wanted Dame. He wanted Dame over Drew. And there's pressure now because, you got Dame. We're going to get to Dame, but you tell me, it looks like you'd rather have Drew right now. Am I wrong? I would. And it's sort of like egg on Giannis' face because Giannis was the one that said, hey, I want to score. Oh, you got to score. You got a guy that needs the ball a lot and doesn't play a lot of defense. You don't know what you got until it's gone, Could have had a bad bitch. Could have had Drew Holiday. Again, Giannis, one of the greatest players in the world. He did win a championship, so it's more, do you want to be back on top as the greatest player in the world? Because at one time, he was 2-time MVP. Back to back. Yeah, he definitely was. Right? I don't know. I'm not trying to be a dick. Paul George. Whoa. Pretty low on the list. Paul George hasn't won a championship. Number 9. He's kind of a guy that's trying to get a chip before he retires. Well, here's the thing. I think there's more pressure on the Clippers as a whole, this whole era of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. And right now, Paul George can leave this Clippers era. He has the option at the end of the season. He can stick around for one more year, or he can just be a free agent. He can go sign with whoever he wants to and say, you know what, it hasn't worked out here. It's not a vibe. I know I'm from here. I know I live here. I know, SoCal is my, where I want to be, but I'm going to take off. I'm going to start something else. I'm free to go anywhere I want. He has that ability right now. because he hasn't been extended, or him and the Clippers haven't reached an agreement. So I don't see that pressure on him, and he is playing. So he can, if they were to lose, they won today, but if they were to lose in like the first, second round, he can say, hey, you know what? It wasn't my fault. I was out on the court. I was out there. I was playing hard. I was doing it. I was doing my thing. Where was Kawhi? You know? Not that he would say that because they're friends and or whatever, but he can be like, hey, you know, I did my thing. I was out there, and people probably wouldn't criticize him. They'd be just more like, the focus would go on Kawhi, I think. I think the focus would go on Kawhi. So, and Paul George is one of the, you know, throughout his entire career has been one of the best two-way players in the league. Y'all know it's true. Look how many, okay, he's been a 4-time defensive player. Tons of All-NBAs. He's the king of the third-team All-NBA. Him and Jimmy Butler are third-team All-NBA guys. But there was one season where he was first-team All-NBA. I think PG's going to be third-team All-NBA, so he'll have 6 third-team All-NBAs. But man, the Clippers run has been bad. Did you know he didn't play last year? He didn't play last year in the Western Conference Finals. He hasn't played in a playoff game since 2021. Ah, man, because in 2022, remember, they fell out of the play-in. They lost in the play-in. They didn't even make the playoffs. It's bad, man. And the Clippers are in a tight spot. They also have a great bench, too. It's been a bad era for the Clippers. A lot of, I don't know. But I don't know. I don't know what I would do differently. So, but yeah, hasn't been in a playoff game since 2021, and then they lost in the play-in game. Brutal. And then didn't play last year. It's tragic. Damian Lillard. He's 33, man. Here's another thing. He's 33. He's great. Remember Kemba Walker? Remember how quickly Kemba Walker was out of the league when he didn't have his speed? I'm worried about Dame, too. He's 33 years old. He's 6'2". He asked out of Portland, so he got what he wanted. He got out. He didn't go to Miami. That's really where he wanted, but he went to a better basketball situation than if he'd gone to Miami. He went to a perfect place. Like, you want another guy that can score the ball. You don't want, all the pressure's on me all the time. I haven't played with another all-star. Fair enough. Now you're playing with Giannis. You're playing with Chris Middleton. You're playing with Brook Lopez. All these guys have been all-stars. Some of them have been all-NBAs. And now it's like, oh, well, I've never done this. I've never shared the ball. I've never not been high usage. I don't know how to do it. It's pretty bad, man. So there's a lot of pressure on Dame. So because he got what he wanted, now he can't be mad about it. That's the problem. So he needs to outperform Drew Holiday in these playoffs, in my opinion. I think he needs to show, like, hey, you didn't make a mistake. I know you got rid of Grayson Allen for me, you got rid of Drew for me, but I'm gonna show you, you got me for the playoffs, and I can come through in the clutch. So, also he has a huge contract. He's under contract until 2027, dude. He's going to be old, 36 or 37. I don't know which one it is. I'm not going to do the math right now. But he'll be the 5th highest paid player, $58 million when that contract's up. It's expensive. It's not tradable. I don't think anyone's trading for it. It was a rough season for Dame, man. It was a really rough season for Dame, and it wasn't a $58 million season. You're not getting anything for Damian Lillard. I'm sorry. He's under contract for way too long. That's your team. You made your bed. LeBron James, only 7 on the list. Because he's, it's done. For me, I don't see the Lakers winning a championship. And it's a lot of what I have responsible for, a lot of bad personnel moves. You had good KCP. You had Alex Caruso. You had Kyle Kuzma. You traded them for Russell Westbrook. That was the end for me. Caruso, you kept Talen Horton-Tucker. You got rid of Caruso. They played great. They went to the Western Conference Championship last year. That was amazing. That was awesome. And they should be commended for it. But dude, that team was never going to make the finals, and they're never going to win the finals. So maybe it's just me, but with LeBron, I'm like, I think it's kind of over. I think everything he's done, as impressive as it is, I don't see any more championships in his future due to those reasons. I think he has a player option at the end of the season. We'll see what he does, but dude, he's not getting it on the Lakers. This team is not good enough. I'm not saying this team is bad, but they're not championship contenders. So that's why he's down on this list, because it's like, I don't really see any pressure, because it would be wild. It would be just wild if they won. So I don't think there's any expectation that they will win. So that's why he's really far down. He's chasing Jordan. he needs 2 more chips to tie him. But there are a lot of things that he's, most times all NBA, most times an all-star. He's an incredible player. I mean, look at he's been an assist leader. I think he's got a scoring title in there. Maybe he never got the scoring title. Now I'm just, scoring champion 2008. 4-time MVP. He's an incredible player. He's on anyone that isn't a hater. Mount Rushmore. LeBron's also my favorite player, so that's why I'm, glazing him so hard. He got swept by the Nuggets last year, so I think there's some pressure on him to not get swept by the Nuggets this year. I just don't see them winning. That's just me. That's just I don't know. So I just don't see there to be man, you better get it this year. It's get it this year. Are you kidding me? What am I going to beat the Nuggets in the first round of the playoffs? Well, what do I know? I mean, I was watching last night, and it seemed like a foregone conclusion. Nuggets were going to win. That's just me. Nikola Jokic. Not a lot of pressure, dude. He won last year. They can kind of lose one this year, and no one's going to criticize Jokic. I mean, he's going to be a 3-time MVP. He's, I think if he wins this year, though, I think there's going to be conversation for, is he a top 10 player of all time? Because you're kind of putzing around with guys like Shaquille O'Neal, Tim Duncan, Oscar Robertson. Shaq has 4 championships, 3 finals MVPs, 1 MVP. So Jokic has him in that way. Tim Duncan obviously has 5 MVPs. So I mean, he's in that, he's flirting with it. He might be 13 or 14 on the all-time list. But at the age of 29, people are going to start talking about where he sits in all-time. He's going to be a legendary player at the age of 29 if he wins this championship. Because he'll have 2 MVPs and 2 finals MVPs and 3 league regular season MVPs, which is really amazing. So I don't think there's a lot of pressure other than the fact that he's really good and the team's really good and people expect them to win. But it's not sort of like Giannis. He's won. He already got one. So he's also the new face of the league. I believe that. And I understand a lot of people probably don't believe that, but when I'm watching basketball, I've been watching a lot of basketball lately. I'm seeing him in a lot of commercials. I'm seeing the way people talk about him, and I sort of had that epiphany today when I was like, oh, he's the guy now. He's the guy, and he's the next guy. LeBron is still the guy, but you can tell it's I don't think the NBA likes that he's the guy, but I think he's there. I think in past seasons, they've been reluctant to sort of give him the praise as the reigning king of the NBA, but now it feels like it's him, and they have to give it to him because he's just too good. He's just too dominant. Again, not a lot of pressure. Then James Harden. James Harden hasn't won. He's known for just shrinking in the playoffs. On my other channel, I talked about him in the Western Conference Finals in 2015 when the Rockets they had the Warriors 3-2. They were up 39-22 in the first quarter. Things were looking good. They're about to clinch it. They're about to knock out KD, Steph, and Clay, and Draymond in the Western Conference Finals. It was so close. Then they lose Game 6. They get cold. And then they missed. In Game 7, they missed 27 straight three-pointers. Tragic. That was it. That's one of the most brutal losses that I've ever seen televised. So, man, and James Harden still recovering from all sorts of trauma. He was on that OKC team that went to the finals with the Heat. People forget that. I don't think it was a sweep, but it was pretty close to a sweep. People don't really talk about that finals a whole lot. He's been an MVP, 3-time scoring champion, 70-time greatest players of all time, of course. I feel like Derrick Rose is the only player that was an MVP that wasn't 75 greatest. So, free agent at the end of the season. Another, he's not the full responsibility guy for the Clippers and the future of the Clippers. That's nice. Also, he's the third option. He's sort of in that Westbrook era where Westbrook obviously isn't getting as much time as Harden. He's not as important to the team, but it's sort of, he's like, hey, I'm just here. I just showed up. I'm the guy that came to the party late, in my opinion. And, so I can leave when the party's over. I don't have to stay and clean up. I'm a free agent. I can go sign with the Lakers if I want, or Golden State Warriors if I want. I can do whatever I want. So I don't think there's that much pressure. Also, he has a reputation of being a diva, We all know it. So I think if he has a great season, it'll sort of prove like, hey, I can do what I want and still win a championship, which is pretty cool for him. Jaylen Brown, wow, unexpected. Dude, here's the thing. Okay, here's the thing. The Celtics are really good, and they've been really good for a long time. This era of the Celtics has been to the Eastern Conference Finals 4 times, and they've made the finals. They're really good. I don't believe Jaylen Brown has ever missed the playoffs. I'm not sure. I know Jayson Tatum has not missed the playoffs since he's been in the league. And this is probably the most frustrating thing of all, because you're a perennial contender and you've never won a chip, right? And this is the best season they've ever had. By all accounts, this is it. This is the season they should win. And it puts a lot of pressure on it. Like when, Steph and the Warriors broke the Chicago Bulls best season record. I think, what were they? 72 and 10 or 73 and 9. Then they lost. And it was brutal. So having like too good of a regular season can be a curse, because it's so demoralizing if you don't win. So, yeah, Brown, and he's the highest. I don't know if he's still the highest paid player in the league, but he signed a contract for $500 million, and he was the highest paid player in the league, or he had signed the biggest contract. If it's not him, it's pretty close. So there's a lot of pressure. If you're gonna sign that big of a deal, people are gonna expect you to be worth it. Right now, it seems like he is worth it, but people are going to want a championship, man. You've been so many times. One of these seasons has to be it. And why not this season? It's the best record you've ever had. So, yeah, I mean, I don't want the Celtics to win. I was going to say I'd like to see the Celtics win, but I don't want the Celtics to win. But it'd be good if they, if they got one, I hope it's this season. So, Brown could be traded because he's good enough that he plays up to the contract. And I don't know. Boston fans might just be like, let's mix it up. Let's maybe. I don't know. There'd be no reason because the team is so good other than the fact that you're like, I'm frustrated by watching the same team every year get really close. That's it. That's the only reason. Joel. Again, sort of like Giannis. We're kind of like, yeah, he gets hurt and they lose in the second or first round. And there used to be pressure, but now it just sort of feels like that's what's going to happen, and nobody expects it to not happen. Do you agree with that? I feel like he's injured now. I think they're going to lose to the Knicks in the first round, and it's going to be like last year where, he had a weak sauce playoffs. He had the orbital fracture the year before. You're kind of archiving the seasons by Joel's reason that they didn't go further in the playoffs. So I don't feel this pressure. Even like Kendrick Perkins is saying they should sit him for next season, which is like, it is like, yeah, Perk, you're right. Yeah, you want to have him healthy for next season, but next season you want him healthy for next season so you can do well in the playoffs next season. You're playing for the playoffs. You're in the playoffs. He can play. Have him play. Don't save him for the future where you could run back the same thing you're doing today. Because eventually, because sure, maybe you're going to say, hey, this isn't the year. I got a feeling next year's not the year either. There's always a reason to not play. There's always a reason to kick the can down the road. Always. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to. And you can tell yourself whatever the reason is. It doesn't matter. Just play. Try. You'll feel better about it. I don't think Joel Embiid's going to get any more hurt. Or maybe he does, and he has an offseason. Then it's like, okay, well, then he's hurt for the regular season next year. It's like, okay, well, either way, who cares? Okay, he can't play in the playoffs next year, but we got him for this playoffs, and he got hurt. We ran the risk. We rolled the dice. There's risk in everything. So, I don't know. I'm just like sort of... Embiid's one of these guys, and same thing sort of like with Kawhi. Kawhi definitely has 2 championships, so it's a little bit different. But with Embiid, it sort of feels like we're always going to get to the end of the season, and he's not. There's going to be a reason that he's going to perform poorly, like clockwork. I don't know, man. He's such an exceptional player. He had such like crazy good PER this year. And it sucks because you just sort of like, yeah, but like, it doesn't matter. You never win in the playoffs. I don't know. I don't know what's the matter with this guy. I don't know if it's psychological. Kawhi's number 2. Okay, I know Kawhi has 2 championships, 2 finals MVPs. He's, no pressure. He's already done it. He's already done it twice. He got it done pretty early in his career, and everything else is just gravy. He's also been Defensive Player of the Year 2 years in a row. Here's the thing. Kawhi has potential to be a top 10 player too. Maybe. It would take a bit more, but Kawhi has a very impressive resume. If you ever just sit down and take a look at it, or stand up, take a look at it. Look at it on your phone. But he just signed an extension. Here's the thing. He's on the hook till 2027. For whatever reason, Steve Ballmer and him decided, hey, I'm good with this $50 million a year. Let's extend me for 3 years. He said, that's great. Let's do it. They met in the middle because that's not a max contract anymore. He took a bit of a pay cut. He said, I want to stay here. Ballmer bit. He did it. Now, Kawhi is the face of the Clippers for the next 3 years. Okay? He does not want to get traded. He lives in SoCal. He lives in San Diego. Takes a helicopter to work. He likes SoCal living. He's from Riverside. Okay? He does not want to get traded. I don't think he's going to get traded. This is your guy. And this is a huge playoffs for you because Harden's a free agent. Paul George has a player option. It could totally change everything. But you're a Clipper. You are the face of the Intuit Dome. You are selling tickets next season. You should play. And I know he's hurt. It sucks. And he's a lot of the reason that the Clippers are in the playoffs this year or have such a high seed in the playoffs this year. I'm not discounting it. He's going to be an all-NBA player, but he just got hurt. I don't know what it is. Again, it's sort of a psychosomatic thing. And I don't know if it is a psychosomatic thing, but he's not playing today. They got to get past the second. They got to get into the second round, and then Kawhi's got to play for this to be forgotten. Because if they lose in the first round and Kawhi didn't play, it's I don't know. It's one of the things you're like, well, life will go on. No one's going to die. But it's sort of like he'll become like a Ben Simmons-esque joke. Obviously not as sad as Ben Simmons, but sort of we're going to get to the end of the season and you're going to not be able to play. And I think Embiid's getting that way too, in my opinion. I'm sort of like counting out both teams because they can't stay healthy and they can't pull together. And I think there's something we need to give credit for. Like Jayson Tatum, dude, he's played in like 90% of his games. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just luck. Maybe he just avoids getting hurt. I don't know. But he does it. And he gets there. And I think that's valuable. So, I think there's a lot of pressure on Kawhi. He's the face of the Clippers now. He has 3 more years on that contract. He's not getting traded. He is there. He's been hurt so many times in the playoffs. He only played in 2 games last season in the playoffs because there was no injury. It was just sort of wear and tear. Played 2 games and then said, hey, I'm not playing anymore in the playoffs. And they lost to the Phoenix Suns. Dude, it's I mean, I'm kind of a Clippers fan just because that's where I go to games because they're cheap and Lakers games are expensive. So, but I'm not a Clippers fan. I go and I typically root for the other team. Tatum. I think Tatum has the most pressure just because of this Celtics team is so good. That's my opinion. I think the Celtics are so good that Tatum is expected to win and he needs to carry this team and get a championship. He's gotten so close so many times. Never missed the postseason. Been to the Eastern Conference Finals 4 times. I think he's underrated. Like I said, personally, I think he's fine. He's not, personality-wise, he's not my favorite player, but I definitely respect him, and I really have a lot of admiration for the guy just because of how much he plays and how much he wants to win and how much of a competitor he is. So, yeah, he's always been in the MVP voting. There's something I want to mention, though, because I remember Bill Simmons talks about this. He says that I think he said he'd rather have Jaylen Brown take like the final shot or have Drew Holiday take a final shot or Kristaps. So he's sort of talking about this idea that Jayson Tatum is obviously the main star on that team, but is he? he's not the obvious go-to option, which I think there's a lot of pressure on him to be that go-to option. I don't think he necessarily cares if it's the finals and whatever. He gets passed up and gets cucked and Drew Holiday takes a game-winning shot. I don't think he really cares, but people are going to start to talk if they don't win. I think I'm rooting for the Celtics in this weird way. To come out of the East, at least. I don't know. I want a Nuggets. It's funny. I used to be a Lakers fan. I used to be a Bron-sexual, and I've realized I've, lost my lust for LeBron. Now I'm just sort of curious about what's going to happen with Nikola Jokic in his career. So, all right. Those are the 10. Be good to your mothers.